Story 1. As someone working overnight in a hospital right now, the common issue seems to be burns on their hands and faces. Story 2. Well, this year the day after is a Saturday, so people are probably going to party and set off fireworks all weekend. Story 3. In my state, the 5th of July is still permitted. After that, you need a license to set off your personal fireworks until December 26th, when it is allowed again until January 2nd. Also, it is not wise to store fireworks at home. They have a tendency to easily combust and either burn houses down or explode. Story 4. Some jurisdictions choose to light their fireworks the day before or the day after, so they are not competing with major cities or gatherings. Growing up, our town always lit the fireworks on the 3rd because they knew everyone was going to Boston for the 4th of July. Story 5. Because someone always finds that one last package in the garage and decides their Tuesday night needs to end with excitement. Story 6. Where I live in Alabama, you can light as many fireworks as you want from June 20th to July 10th, and also from December 15th to January 2nd. The TNT Fireworks headquarters is located here, and they put on various fireworks displays throughout the year. There are fireworks shows at least once a month here. Story 7. It is funny finding this. I was literally just woken up by someone lighting a steady stream of those huge, colorful fireworks. It is almost 2 a.m., so that kind of sucks. I would be fine with it if they lit them off around 9 or so. It is inconsiderate to wait until the neighborhood is asleep to light them off. Story 8. I do not set off fireworks myself, but where I live, fireworks consistently go off for 3 weeks around the 4th of July. People start setting them off as soon as places begin selling them, and they continue until they run out. Story 9. I heard fireworks at around 1 a.m. on the morning of July 4th. I don't mind fireworks, but anything after 11 p.m. in a city where people are trying to sleep is a bit extreme. Story 10. My state opened sales on June 21st, and they have been very busy since then. I have 2 rescue Labrador retrievers who have been inconsolable every night. Story 11. I particularly love it when they launch them towards my house, and the detonations sound like they are in my lap. Story 12. It poured all day on the 4th. I still let off all my fireworks, but I just got back from watching my friend who is a coward light his off on this beautiful rain-free night. Story 13. I always assumed they forgot about their stash or someone hid it that night because they were too drunk to light it safely. Story 14. In Utah, people are allowed to set them off from July 3rd through Pioneer Day. Pioneer Day is at the end of July. Story 15. I don't have a problem with leftovers being used. I just wish they would use them consistently. The guys up the street have some pretty big mortar types that they launch off every once in a while, just when you think they are done. They light one off and then stand around talking about it for 30 minutes before doing it again. Story 16. Just the day after? I'm in a decently sized city and the fireworks started in June. They will continue for at least another 3 or 4 days, with some possibly continuing into August. Story 17. Vendors liquidate their inventory at big discounts. For the week after the 4th of July, you can get really cheap fireworks for a second fireworks show. Story 18. Where I live, they start about a week before the holiday, slowly increase to the peak on the holiday, and then there is about a week-long taper. Story 19. Sometimes I have extras and they can go bad in the humidity. This year I set a small budget and managed to finish them all on Friday. Story 20. People in my neighborhood were shooting off mortars at 3:30 a.m. this morning. I wish I knew where they lived. Story 21. I have lived in the country outside Pittsburgh for the last 10 years. I have never seen or heard so few fireworks or gunshots around the 4th of July as this year. Usually, it is constant for 2 weeks leading up to the 4th, and at least a week after. Many people participate, and at least one neighbor puts on a really big show. This year, only one person is shooting his guns, and he is the one who does that year-round. It seems Americans are not feeling like celebrating. It is almost as if they are beginning to understand what is really going on. Hopefully, they do not forget. Story 22. We fired cannons and sent steel downrange at the British to defend the basic concepts of free rights among people. We had to be loud. The revolution did not start or end that day. Continues a little bit every day. Every silver salute is progress except for my pets who apparently hate freedom. Story 23. I am more concerned about the neighbors a block away who start 3 or 4 days early and are literally shooting off fireworks from before it is even dark until 11 at night. Every night, every year. Story 24. Many Americans do not work a typical 9 to 5 job with holidays off. Many in the service industry work on Independence Day but have an adjacent day off and want to celebrate the same holiday with their family in a similar fashion as the rest of the world. I am glad they are able to. Story 25. In my neighborhood, I would like to know why they continue to do it for the next 3 months anytime between sunset and 3 a.m. Story 26. Could be worse. Here, they set them off on a Tuesday for fun. It used to be a nightly thing, now mostly on weekends or during the summer because kids are out of school and bored. Story 27. I live in Los Angeles County. They start popping 2 months before and keep going 2 months after. Also, on any other holiday or if any of our sports teams win. Story 28. In Utah, July 24th is Pioneer Day, and the entire month of July is fireworks season. Even though they are illegal in more areas than where they are legal, a large amount of fireworks is set off every year. Story 29. I don't know, but it's nonstop in Salt Lake City at midnight going into July 6th as I type. Next comes the 24th, Pioneer Day. For the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it's like July 4th times 100. Story 30. Help. People light off fireworks here every time our football team scores a touchdown. I don't even need the television to know the score. Story 31. I used up all my ladyfingers, fuzz bottles, Snicker bombs, church burners, and finger blasters. Had some zip-pitty doodahs and crap flappers left over. I let those off to use them up. By the way, did anybody else notice a shortage of Husker do's this year? I could only find Husker don'ts. Story 32. In my neighborhood, we get to play, was that a gunshot or a firework? At least weekly. Story 33. Because they had to work on the 4th of July, family and friends could only get together for some fun and fireworks the next day. Story 34. They have leftovers they could not get to or forgot to grab on the day of, and they do not want to risk storing explosives for a full year. Story 35. They went to the fireworks place and took advantage of the day after sale. They worked on the 4th of July but have the 5th off. They went to a family function on the 4th of July but told their kids they would have their own fireworks on the 5th. They bought enough fireworks to set off every night for the whole weekend. They misread the calendar. They just wanted to annoy you. There are probably more reasons, but the biggest one is because they enjoy it and they can. Story 36. They started 2 weeks before the 4th of July. Not to mention, there are fireworks displays after the 4th of July because it is easier to do or the 4th was rained out. Story 37. My birthday is today. Also, my city legally allows us to fire off store-bought fireworks from July 1st to July 6th between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. So we firework enthusiasts can do it for 6 days if we wish. Story 38. Because they drank too many Bud Light and Modelo beers and passed out on the 4th of July, now they have to blow things up to feel cool. Story 39. The real question is why people living in dense neighborhoods feel the need to set off fireworks. Scares both me and my dogs. I have post-traumatic stress disorder with explosions. Story 40. I would love to have this conversation with whoever it is down the street in our neighborhood who is lighting them at 2:45 a.m. You have to be very selfish to do that. Story 41. I must be the only person in my whole neighborhood who had to be up at 4 a.m. for work this morning. It seemed like everyone else was setting off firecrackers until after midnight. My dogs were also quite disturbed by it. Story 42. Or apparently save your biggest and loudest ones until 11 p.m. the next day in a family-focused neighborhood. Story 43. If you really must know, having all 10 fingers, 2 eyes, unburnt skin, and fully functional hearing is a bit cumbersome. We also like the challenge of burning our house and our neighbor's house down while also setting ablaze any field of grass dried out by the summer heat. Story 44. I do not know why they set off fireworks at all, but it is very annoying. It drives my dog crazy. I was awake until 1 a.m. with her on Thursday and Friday nights. I live in a small town where only 2 police officers are working. They received hundreds of noise complaints over the last 2 nights. They did not cite anyone for violating the noise ordinance or setting off illegal fireworks. Their opinion is that if they cannot cite everyone, they will not cite anyone. Story 45. If you do this, I do not like you, and my dog does not like you either. This is the 3rd night of fireworks, so I have to medicate my dog. I can tolerate 1 night, but the days before and after, extending into midnight, are too much. You are the reason we cannot have nice things. Story 46. Oh my God. It is like you and your dogs and your tiny babies and post-traumatic stress disorder afflicted veterans and wildlife do not know how to have fun. What is wrong with everyone? Story 47. My state allows fireworks use through the holiday weekend, which is fine with me because local towns have fireworks on different nights, including the 5th. Celebrate responsibly, and we will see you on Monday. Story 48. People light fireworks where I live randomly throughout the year, but always after midnight. I have to guess if it is a firework or a gunshot. Some are big enough that the house will shake. Story 49. Here in Utah, we have Pioneer Day on the 24th. So basically the whole month is filled with fireworks and concern that the state will burn down. Story 50. I do not know. They are illegal in Nevada, but people still use them. If I had the money, I would use them all the time. Fireworks are one of my favorite activities. Story 51. My wallet was bigger than my time and patience for using my stash with my son. However, it wasn't me. I gave my leftovers, mostly sparklers, to my neighbors on July 5th. The reason some of my neighbors were setting off fireworks on July 5th was because someone gave them fireworks that morning. I am not naming any names. Story 52. It's little boys saying, "My daddy is bigger than your daddy" to grown-ups, who are saying, "My boom is bigger than your boom." I wonder if they ever grow up. It's a testosterone thing. I agree with the previous statement. It's a week before and a week after the 4th of July. It has absolutely nothing to do with celebrating our country's liberty, just their own personal egos. It is 11:59 where I live, now July 6th, and a huge blast just rocked the entire neighborhood, making my house literally shake to its foundations. My poor cat is absolutely terrified. This is obscene. Story 53. Because people do not only have parties on the 4th of July. This year, the 4th of July is on a Friday, so people are able to do things all weekend and have fun. Story 54. Main reason. Main character syndrome. The average American does not care about anyone but themselves. Drive around a populated area for an hour and witness the absolute selfishness and disregard for every other person on the road. It is not America, yes. It is America, no. Story 55. These are the same people complaining about the price of eggs being too high, yet spending hundreds of dollars on fireworks. Story 56. People do it because they just want to keep the party going. Fireworks are a big part of the holiday fun, and some do not get enough of them on the 4th of July, so they continue the celebration the next day. Story 57. It's like people who open a gift they are given on December 26th. I'm like, dude, throw it away. Christmas was yesterday. What next? Same people who eat Halloween candy on November 1st and Valentine's candy on February 15th. Filthy animals. And because this is Reddit, end of text. Story 58. I had to go to the emergency room last night, so I could not finish them. But tonight is a new night, and I still have 9 more fingers. Story 59. You should see the fireworks light up the night sky in Alaska. It is like shooting them off at noon. Story 60. I strongly dislike these people. They are disturbing my Saturday night by setting off fireworks at 12:30 a.m. Story 61. Outlier here. Because we travel very far to be with disabled family and create celebration opportunities for them, it does not always line up perfectly with the 4th of July. Story 62. He was throwing them away because he was hunting for sport. Some men can't be bought, bargained with, or reasoned with. Some men just want to watch the world burn. Batman's butler. Story 63. My spot waited for the non-locals to head into town. I just got back from the show. Do I agree? Matt, was I there? Yes, absolutely, America. Only one small Joe Biden joke which did not land. Everything else was fully celebratory. Story 64. I still had some left because I did not want to be the person lighting them off at 1 a.m., like the man down the street from me. Story 65. My birthday is July 5th. I choose to believe they are just helping me celebrate. Seriously, though, forget the freedom flares. I have a dog that is terrified of them. Someone set them off at a campsite once at the exact moment I was undoing her leash to put her in our tent. 3 hours later, I found her 2 miles down the road at the transfer station, digging through scraps around the dumpster. This was after I spent 2 hours walking through the woods of West Virginia with a flashlight, thinking she had been eaten by a bear and crying my eyes out. She is 17 now and mostly deaf, which is a blessing because it is 1 a.m. and fireworks are going off all around us. Thankfully, she cannot hear them, so she is not shaking or trying to jump off the bed and hide. Story 66. It is 3:39 a.m. in my town, and someone was just setting off those large, expensive fireworks. Like, what the heck? Scared my entire household. Story 67. You mean like spare bangers from bonfire night? In our area, it is common for the firecrackers to be going off all week. Story 68. That's Florida for you, baby. I consider myself lucky if it doesn't start weeks before and continue weeks after until neighbors run out. Story 69. I do not do fireworks, but my best guess is that it is because they have leftovers or they had work on the 4th of July but want at least some fun that they missed. The same applies to people who shoot them a day or two before. Work schedules sometimes do not care about holidays. Story 70. Most states allow the weekend preceding and the weekend after, and some people cannot always get the day off. Story 71. They go on sale the day after, so many people buy them in the following days. I used to buy them and would stop lighting them after a couple of drinks to be responsible. The next day, when I was sober, I would finish them off. Story 72. Leftovers. Think Thanksgiving, except we have more ammunition that was not used instead of turkey and the trimmings that were not eaten by family and friends. Story 73. Was possibly too intoxicated to do it safely and not intoxicated enough to do it anyway. It is a fine balance, and I still have all my fingers. Story 74. The day after, we will light them off throughout the year, whenever it is a decent night to see them and we have nothing else to do. Story 75. It stormed here on Friday, so I expected people to let them off for the next couple of days. But really, as soon as they start selling them, people are already letting them off. Story 76. Do you know how long bottle rockets last before they become duds or contact fuses? Therefore, the leftovers must be used, especially if it has freshly rained. Story 77. The rural towns in Wisconsin light their fireworks on different days to avoid interfering with other major shows that happen on the 4th of July. You will see a few small shows followed by one large show on the 4th, usually funded by the tribal casino. On the 5th, the same pattern occurs. Some small shows followed by another large one, also supported by the casino. Story 78. Sometimes it rains or it is too cloudy, so we wait until the weather improves. Fireworks are also much cheaper a day later, significantly cheaper. Story 79. A week before, according to the family, it was World War VI here last night. I had the dogs locked up, listening to the radio. No, they are randomly setting off the explosive boom, ones that rock the ceiling fan. This will continue for the weekend. Then they will break out more in September. Story 80. Because simply burning money isn't as loud or as colorful as wasting it on fireworks, and it is difficult to contain so much foolishness within one night. So, give them a few days to finish and then go back to complaining about the cost of living. Story 81. People do it when they are celebrating the 4th of July holiday. It can be before, on, or after the 4th based on their work or family schedule. Story 82. It is my chance to get back at my neighbors whose dogs bark every day of the year, annoying the other neighbors. Story 83. My neighborhood all gets together for a big fireworks show at the end of our street every year. This year was exciting because two people brought gigantic packs of fountain fireworks. We also had rockets, mortars, Roman candles, and a couple of finale boxes. In the dark, it is hard to tell if you fired everything. When my dad and I went up to do the fireworks cleanup on the 5th around noon, we found a couple of boxes of unexploded bottle rockets, a strip of firecrackers, and a few rockets. We definitely had some fun with them while cleaning up. Leftovers. Story 84. I will be honest, if I did buy them, which I do not because I never feel like stopping at those stores when I see them just to buy fireworks, I would go past the 4th. Story 85. Depends on your local town, county, or municipality. Locally, we are allowed to shoot fireworks only twice a year. These occasions are New Year's Day, January 1st, and Independence Day, July 4th. For these two events, we are permitted to partake in the festivities on the day before, the day of, and the day after. A few years ago, the neighbors called the police on us. The local authorities gave us a reminder and a warning. Afterwards, I confirmed the ordinance online. We stopped what we were doing and learned our lesson. After all that, we lit it up on July 5th. Story 86. This is fireworks season where I live. It starts with high school and college graduations in May, then weddings in June. Of course, there is the 4th of July, Labor Day in August, and finally many Latin American nations' Independence Days in September. However, people also set off fireworks at other times for baptisms, confirmations, Christmas, Diwali, and other occasions. Story 87. My family's community always celebrates on the Saturday following the 4th of July, so that area always has events on that date. Story 88. Dude, we legally separated from the United Kingdom on July 2nd, 1776. They signed this Declaration of Independence notification to the Parliament and His Majesty King George III of the United Kingdom titled, The Unanimous Declaration of the 13 Colonies of the United States of America, of this legal separation on July 4, 1776. This is the document everyone knows. It is a declaratory act and is not legally binding. It is merely a foreign communique to the United Kingdom and the world that the United States has legally separated and is declaring independence. This is legal insurrection, where a part of one nation legally separates, notifies the parent country, and then prepares to defend itself. Insurrection is when a subsection of a nation or state undergoes any form of legal, military, cultural, or other rebellion against the nation it is legally part of. However, they had to vote to legally separate first. The difference between this and the War of the States is that the South opened fire first, declaring a military insurrection before it legally separated. The Congress was very careful to make a legal separation first and see how the United Kingdom responded before raising serious military defiance. This plays politically different as they used mental and legal action first, showing the world that the nation is founded on ideals and not arms. It only raises an army when the United Kingdom responds with force. They knew it was coming, but the theatrics play out that Congress is showing ideological differences before defending them when forced into battle. Richard Lee's resolution was the legal separation, not just a declaratory document, and was brought to the Second Continental Congress on July 2, 1776, for a vote. Here is the text. Resolved that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved. That it is expedient forthwith to take the most effectual measures for forming foreign alliances. That a plan of confederation be prepared and transmitted to the respective colonies for their consideration and approbation. Many Americans view the whole week as a celebration of our accomplishment as a people in putting a dent in the universe where monarchy began a long-term decline in freedom, liberty, and the right to give their consent to government through voting in a quasi-democratic fashion was brought back into this world. They took on a preeminent European power on the battlefield to defend a piece of paper. That is why it is so important. France followed suit and suffered almost 25 years of war. Blood was lost to defend ideas on paper. All other democracies in the world today owe the United States and France a debt of gratitude for the blood spilled bringing this superior form of government back from the grave. We are proud to be the inspiration for the advancement and progression of humanity. Every other nation and people that fought and died for their independence has us backing them up in ideals and force. Story 89. Yeah, it is a summer-long event here. It is not as bad as past years. I guess everyone is too broke to waste their money. Story 90. On the 4th of July, there should be many fireworks no matter what day it falls on. But they should end by 10 or 11 p.m. If it is a weekday after the 4th, it seems unusual, but if it is the weekend during or after the 4th, like now, it is totally normal and fine with me as long as it ends by 10 or 11 p.m. I fully support it. We have had city and business fireworks scheduled at different times, especially around the lakes. Fireworks are planned for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, plus flares are set to light up the smaller lakes. Story 91. There is a certain segment of society that can never get enough of fireworks. I have neighbors who cannot afford a decent lawnmower to keep their yard maintained but spend $1,000 a year on commercial-grade fireworks, which should never be allowed within any city limits by residents. Of course, they do this on the 5th of July because they were watching the city's display on the 4th. Story 92. I don't do it myself, but I always thought that it was for the people that the family lost or something. Story 93. I think they go to the fireworks tent that day and clean out the discounted leftover stock. I hate it. Story 94. We do animal rescue. The 4th of July is a nightmare for us, but we know it is coming. Why are people setting off massive fireworks after midnight on the following day? Seriously, do people have money to spend like that today? Story 95. I wasn't celebrating a holiday. It's just National Get Drunk and Blow Things Up Day. Any day is a good day for National Get Drunk and Blow Things Up Day. Story 96. My neighbor lights them for a week afterward. He needed to get his money's worth. He spent $8,000 one year. I'm so glad I moved. Story 97. The use of fireworks is acceptable from July 1st, Canadian Independence Day, through July 14th, Bastille Day. The 4th of July falls within that time period and is another holiday deserving of fireworks. Story 98. Because I still have a lot left over and this is the United States of America, where I can light off fireworks any day of the year that I feel like it. Story 99. I had a neighbor for 1 year who, I guess, had a lot of fireworks left over after Independence Day because they set them off a few times a week for the rest of the year. It was very irritating. Story 100. I used to enjoy them. Then I grew up and got bored. Nowadays it is, do you want to watch the fireworks show? And I say no, I have seen them before. Meanwhile, we have the people mentioned earlier who shoot off fireworks several days before and after each holiday. In my old neighborhood, it was guns. 9 shots at a time over and over. Story 101. Probably too drunk on the date to remember where they had put all of the fireworks, or passing out before all of them were fired. To get their money's worth, they drank the rest of their alcohol and fired up the rest the next day. Story 102. I had people in my neighborhood setting them off at 11 p.m. Why did we decide to start when people are going to sleep? Story 103. Why not? The 4th of July was on Friday. We have Saturday and Sunday to light the rest of our fireworks. It is the 4th of July weekend. Story 104. Because there are excess fireworks to be shot off, I do not set them off the day before or any day other than the day after, unless the excess consists of smoke bombs or the fireworks are small and do not make a lot of noise. I am an American with no reason to be startled by loud noises, so I would not be bothered by it during the whole holiday week if people wanted to do it. It is the celebration of American independence, after all. Also, I do not shoot fireworks within city limits. Story 105. Our family owns a fireworks shop and it is open year-round. We are a small tourist town, and fireworks are enjoyed and welcomed. They are not just for the 4th of July. They are for birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, funerals, births, reunions, New Year's, Christmas, Halloween, Easter, and any occasion to celebrate. People here are drawn to them. I have never met anyone who dislikes them. It must be a city thing. Story 106. Because the 4th was a Friday, the following days, Saturday and Sunday, are equally appropriate for family gatherings and parties. Story 107. It is not complicated. Many people cannot let them off on the 4th of July for various reasons, so they do it when they can. Some people have leftover fireworks from the 4th of July and do not want to store them. Some people just like being difficult. It is the same every 4th of July. It is not a new thing. You cannot expect there to be fireworks only on the 4th of July, even though that would be nice. Story 108. I understand that fireworks can be annoying, and 2 a.m. on random nights is uncalled for, but sometimes people are just having fun with their family or friends. It is not worth getting angry over, in my opinion. Story 109. When America's birthday is on the weekend, you might as well prepare. Wait until next year when it's on Saturday. Then again, I think most of the fireworks come from China, so we may not be able to afford them ever again. Story 110. I have to assume they bought too many and cannot be bothered to save them for whatever reason, including quality erosion. Story 111. Those are the people I say spent their rent on fireworks. Because there is no way you live like you are broke all year but have $2,000 laying around for fireworks. Story 112. In my area, it used to be awful. The pop-up fireworks tents would stay up well into August until they had sold all their stock and, in some cases, would restock the tents as well. We had fireworks every weekend from the last week of June until mid-August. Finally, the city passed an ordinance to fine the tents if they were not packed up and gone by the 6th of August and prohibited fireworks within city limits on any day other than the 4th of July. It solved the issue quickly, and I could not be more thankful as a dog owner. Story 113. Fireworks are fun. We would collect firecrackers and bottle rockets as children and save them throughout the year until the next 4th of July when we could get more. Story 114. It is not safe to store fireworks in your house. If you pass out before you can light them all on the 4th of July, the next day is the solution. Story 115. I imagine they go to the city show on the 4th and do their own show on the 5th, which is a Saturday, so it is perfect. Story 116. People in my neighborhood set off fireworks at 5 a.m. this morning. I mean, that is just disrespectful behavior. Story 117. It is funny how the people calling others offensive names are often offensive themselves, like me. Story 118. If you have leftover fireworks, it means you fell asleep early the night before. 5th of July fireworks are just to make sure they do not get stale. That is wasteful. Story 119. God damn it, Reddit is such a miserable place. The very idea of having fun just sends everyone into a rage spiral. Story 120. My neighbors across the street set off fireworks every night for the entire month of July. I have lived here for 10 years and cannot fully explain how much I hate them. They keep me awake, they keep children awake, they scare my dog so badly that we have to give him anxiety medication, and they trigger my stepdad's post-traumatic stress disorder from when he was in the army. This happens all month long. I think they buy too many fireworks and set them off all month to get rid of them, unless they just enjoy upsetting everyone. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.